Common question I get, how much does a floor cost? How much is an epoxy floor? How much does this cost? And my initial response is, well, what exactly do you want? And then I realized people don't really know what an epoxy floor is, in the sense that there are so many different factors that will affect the epoxy floor. There's so many different types of epoxy floors. In this video, I want to go through every single type of epoxy floor. And before I go through, make sure you have subscribed to this channel if you haven't already. Now, types of epoxy floors. The number one, the most common one, and I'm going to show you a few pictures now. The thin coat. These are epoxy floors that are kind of applied with like a paint. These are usually thin paints, not maybe 200 microns per layer. Maybe you apply like a primer in 2 coats. These are great if you just want a space that doesn't pick up dust. You just want it clean, you want it protected. It's a great concrete protection solution. And as long as you don't have very heavy use, it's a very good solution. So these are thin coats, usually applied with a roller or a squeegee or a combination of the two. And I might even post a video at the end on how to apply these things. Number 2 is self-leveling. Self-leveling is a more kind of impressive looking epoxies, and I'm going to show you some pictures now of some really cool looking floors that you want to look at, you want to sort of see. Self-leveling are usually thicker in thickness, so a self-leveling coat might be 2 or 3 millimeters. And we apply it with a trowel. You need a spiked roller as well to break the bubbles. I've got a video at the end I'll post where you can see how we apply a self-leveling floor. It's a great floor, very common in manufacturing facilities, in food facilities and pharmaceuticals where they need to just keep on cleaning the floor all the time. Great solution. Personally, it's my favorite type of floor because you can just do so many great things, and you can cover any uneven surface that has little holes. You can just cover it by applying a 2 millimeter coating on top. Great solution. Self-leveling floors are my favorite types of epoxy floors. The next one, I've kind of bundled them all together, quartz floors and heavy duty floors. These are epoxies where basically the main component is not the epoxy coating itself, but it's usually some sort of quartz sand, or maybe it's some sort of cementitious screed that you mix in with the epoxy, and that way you make it more strong. They serve 2 purposes. One is quartz can be like a decorative, like this. I'm going to show you a picture now of a decorative floor we did for a hotel. But you can also look at heavy duty screeds. So here are like, if you have a factory where they have a certain type of really heavy wear and tear, and they need something stronger than conventional epoxy. This is common in like the dairy industry where they use some sort of cementitious screeds. And here we can also talk about we can enter urethane and polyurethane screeds, but I'm not going to go into that much detail. But just understand that these are types of floors where you kind of combine the resin of the epoxy with some other sort of aggregate that makes it stronger. So these are quartz and all types of heavy duty screeds. Now we've covered the top 3 that are more kind of operational, industrial types of floors, and then we can go into metallics. Metallics are a really cool innovation. There's some people on YouTube doing some really cool stuff with metallics, and I'll post a video at the end. Personally, I don't have that much experience with the metallics. It's not really my thing, but you can do some really interesting things with metallics. Great for decoration. Keep in mind though that metallics are very difficult to apply, because I do get many people who've never been involved in any sort of epoxies before, and they kind of show up and they're like, I want to do metallics, show me how. And the problem is, guys, you need to learn the basics first. Please do not start talking about metallics or 3D epoxies if you don't know the basics. Learn the basics, learn the basic principles of applying a floor or painting, and then go into these more serious things. I mean, the guys today that are applying metallics, these guys have been around for a very long time. They've been hit over the head so many times to be making these really good projects. So keep that in mind. Metallics is not that easy to apply. It's very difficult. They look cool, but keep that in mind. Finally, 3D transparent epoxies. Now, this, in my personal humble opinion, it is a bit of a fad. In many parts of the world, like in Africa, I'm seeing it in the Middle East, people love this idea of you kind of put an image on the floor and then you pour like a transparent epoxy resin on top, and then that looks like a 3D image. It's a bit of a fad. Personally, I'm not a fan. They are quite difficult to apply. I see many people talking about 3D epoxies, but I've seen very few projects. I mean, show me some pictures of real 3D floors. I have seen very few in my life. Most people just talk about doing, or they're teaching 3D epoxies and they're doing seminars on how to apply 3D epoxy, but no one's actually doing them. So if you have any pictures of real floors, I challenge you to send them to me, because there's not that much going on. It's more of a fad. People like the idea of it. Again, it tends to attract people who are not really involved in the industry and they think they can make a quick buck. It's not, it's a cool, I mean, if you're an artist and you know how to apply these things, go ahead and do it. But everyone else, don't just think that you can just apply a floor, it will look cool, and that's it. These are very difficult to apply, and there's very few 3D floors out there. So anyway, this is our summary. I'm gonna post some videos at the end where you can learn more about the various types of floors. If you want to learn more about applying floors, check out our online course. I'll post a link below. Our online course is a great way for the price of a few gallons of epoxy. You can learn a lot of things on how to start applying epoxies. Thank you very much for watching. Remember, subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you.